All right, so let's try out the DC multiverse one. Do another sweeping shot here. So I am attempting a Justice Society collection. Of course, I've been attempting this for a while, and this is the collection I care the least about. So it just, I don't know. Every time I have the chance to get a figure to add to this collection, I prefer to get something for any of my other collections. This is bottom of the totem pole, and then I get upset with myself that I'm not building on this. But then I try to go back, and the figures are stupid expensive. You know, like I have a folder on my phone that has pictures of every figure that I want that's coming out. And one of the oldest ones is Red Tornado. And I just can't bring myself to go back and find it. And I know he's expensive now. I know he's more expensive, and there's no way I'm getting him. So honestly, there's a couple figures coming out here soon. If I do not get them, then this collection is dead, and I'll just, get rid of most of them. Some of them, there's a couple of them I can give away as gifts to people I know. And there's maybe one or two of them that I might keep indefinitely, but yeah, this collection hasn't went well. And you'll notice, I got Power Girl. I got the new Power Girl. I walked through Walmart the other day, found her. So that's the only reason this collection is even still here. Because I'm the kind of collector that if I'm not constantly building to a collection, I don't see a point in having it. That's actually the reason I got rid of my original X-Men collection, is I had hit a point where I had all the characters that I wanted. And I realized that at that point, if I continued to collect X-Men, it was just going to be replacing characters I already had, getting slightly better each time, and getting minor characters that I barely cared about. So I lost all joy for collecting them. Now I have a much more structured X-Men collection, the 97 one that I'm doing specifically 90s. I'm not doing villains, and I'm not, branching that out. I'm trying to keep it as, trying not to go overboard on that one. This one, opposite problem. So let's start over here. Blue Beetle. I just said I'm doing Justice Society. Blue Beetle's not Justice Society, is he? Well, he feels classic though, doesn't he? I had made the caveat early on. I was like, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold feel like they still fit in Justice Society. I know they're not in there, but they still fit. So I decided that I wanted them for my Justice Society collection, that I could fade them in the back. It wouldn't be a problem. You'll notice there's no Booster Gold. Yeah, that's because this is the single release Blue Beetle. It's more recognizable to me. That's the version of Blue Beetle that I recognize, that I like. And the Booster Gold that I would prefer is in the 2-pack. So my original plan was way back. I was going to get the 2-pack. I was going to get this individual Blue Beetle, and then I was going to use my extra Blue Beetle, the one from the 2-pack, to make a Dr. Fate. Never did that. Never did any of that. And now we have a Dr. Fate. That's one of the characters that if I can't get him, he's quintessential Justice Society. Basically, if I can't get... I want the Fleischer Superman, the first appearance Wonder Woman, and the... I just said. And Dr. Fate. And if I can't get those characters, this is a dead collection. It's over. We got Alan Scott, who, I think is the first That's the first character in this collection. I had a number of rotating Batmans. The one that I currently have is not the oldest figure in this collection. Alan Scott is. Alan Scott, when they released Alan Scott and Jay Garrick, I was like, okay, Justice Society time. That's the collection I want. That's the one I'll have. So I repainted his skin. I resculpted his shirt to be baggier and have the collar. The boots are from The boots are from Black Marvel. And I ordered a cape online, and I believe that the chain across the cape, came from a Black Series client. So I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. Then we've got Jay Garrick. I don't remember where I got that head. It might have been a like custom cast head. I remember just having a bunch of random heads, and that was just the closest one to the version of Jay Garrick that I wanted. Replace his hands with Thor's hands to get rid of those ugly ball joints. I don't do that on all of these figures, obviously, but for him, they were just really atrocious. He's got Captain America boots, and his body is a combination of the Jay Garrick that they put out and that darker colored evil version of him. You got Batman and Robin. Robin, I actually don't like. He needs to go. I hate him. Yeah, that's a classic Robin built on the Dark Knight Returns Robin. Honestly, I phoned that custom in because it was going on my shelf and I didn't really care. I didn't want to buy a whole new fabric for it. So the yellow doesn't even match. And the head just doesn't work. I think that's an Ultimate Vulture, and I only use that because of the head size. But Batman I like. Batman turned out nice. Yeah, so that is the black and gray Nightfall body, and I took all of the first appearance body parts and added those over. I made the cape out of this stretchy pleather material. I think I use yoga pants for that. I have this like stretchy leather looking material. It's leather on the outside and it's soft on the inside. And I like using that for any fabric that needs to be stretchy. So I resculpted the Nightfall head. Originally I had the first appearance head that I had modified to fit on a standard neck. I ended up liking this sculpt slightly more. It was more accurate. That first appearance head just looked like a Justice League head, if you know what I mean. Like it looks more like Justice League Unlimited Batman head. The ears were just bigger. They didn't stick out like the original Batman. So, yeah. Yeah, Huntress and Power Girl. Huntress has nothing done to her. Absolutely nothing. I want to make her more classic. I just haven't decided how to do it yet. She's also too tall, which is a problem Power Girl has. Power Girl, for some reason, McFarlane, in his infinite wisdom, decided that Power Girl should be like half a head taller than his tallest Superman. Why? Just why? I've already shortened Power Girl. She's still half a head taller than my Batman, and I can't shorten her anymore without her looking real stumpy. So, there's that. Huntress, I could shorten, and I could get her into an appropriate height next to Batman. I just normally keep her away from Batman so that you can't see the height difference, and I feel fine about it. I have the movie Dr. Fate. I got that because it was super cheap. I found it at a toy show for like $5, and I was like, I'll use him as a stand-in until we get a classic one. So, if I can track down the classic one, he'll be getting replaced. And then we got Captain Thunder, who I picked up One, because this is the version I found, and two, I like the yellow. Again, I'm making Justice Society. I'm making classic, bright, colorful, simpler costumes. That's the point. But I haven't decided. Originally, I was going to make this into classic Captain Marvel. I was going to get rid of the symbol on his chest, repaint in the Thunderbolt, and paint the belt yellow. That was the plan. But then I got the figure, and I was like, all right, who's this even supposed to be? And I looked up the history of Captain Thunder, and now I think I just want him to be Captain Thunder. Because I love, one of my favorite things is when you have something happen in comics that has a real world reason for why it's happening. Captain Thunder was created by DC as a replacement for Captain Marvel because they didn't have the rights to Captain Marvel, but Captain Marvel was not in publication. So they made their own Captain Marvel, named him Captain Thunder, and he was their placeholder. They had every plan to get Captain Marvel. They had planned on doing it. They were going to do it the whole time. But until then, they used this knockoff version of Captain Marvel. And that's just hilarious to me. And as soon as they had Captain Marvel, Captain Thunder got pushed to the side. Like, he basically doesn't exist anymore. I don't know if DC has used him recently at all, but I love stories like that. I used to have a book going through the publication history of, like, Captain America and Spider-Man and Hulk and Wolverine. And it came in this 4-pack, like, it came with these little statues. And I loved learning, about some of these big Spider-Man storylines that only happen because they keep trying to reset him to zero, Oh, well, Peter Parker got married, so he's not really that fumbling teenager anymore. What are we going to do? Make a clone so that Peter Parker gets his happy ending and we still get, fumbling single Spider-Man. All right. So they did that. And then... and then everybody hated that. They're like, no, you can't imply that the clone is the real one and that we've been following the wrong Spider-Man for 20 years. Essentially the Clone Saga was a big back and forth on that crap. Because they wanted to take Spider-Man back to zero, but they wanted Peter Parker to get his happy ending. And that failed so spectacularly that within 10 years they did Civil War and screwed Spider-Man up forever. So... that's what you get. And then there's Darkseid. I've got Darkseid back there. Darkseid is fun because I haven't done anything else to him. You can see where I took off the medallion, and I didn't even finish fixing it. I'm planning on repainting this figure. You can see where I scored the belt because I'm going to be carving in the details to his belt. I'm going to be darkening all this blue. This guy's been sitting on my shelf for like a year. Like I got him when Darkseid first came out. I had a friend pre-order him for me when he pre-ordered his Darkseid. So I've had him the entire time. And I planned those modifications before I got him. And I still haven't done anything but take the medallion off. Because he's just such a big figure. I have to devote an amount of time to him. And it's a personal custom, so, sometimes those take precedence, and sometimes they don't. So, yeah. Well, that's the DC, I want to say shelf, but DC table, because I've just got a table here in the corner. Oh yeah, I've got the Bat Raptor down there. When McFarlane was still putting out vehicles for affordable prices, and then everybody was like, but everybody else puts out vehicles for like $100. And McFarlane's like, really? So, yeah. That's fun. Yeah, again, honestly, you're probably looking at a fodder table. Because if I can't find those other DC figures, I'll give Alan Scott to like my dad, and maybe I'll keep Batman and Darkseid, and the rest of these figures will probably just go. So we'll see what happens with that. See you in the next video.